Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's Givee webinar. I'm Stephanie Preston. I'm going to do a quick introduction and then turn it over to our resident Givee expert, Aaron Godowski. So I think it's so hard to believe that we're already talking about the holidays, but here at PCNA, we've already kicked off the season with our holiday lookbook. You'll see plenty of more holiday inspiration and ideas from us over the next several months. And if you haven't seen our holiday assets, you can visit pcna.com, click on Holiday 2026 at the top navigation, and you'll see a whole library of resources and assets that you can use to share holiday with your customers. So I'm sure you're having conversations already about holiday programs. It's early, but we know the early bird gets the worm. So the distributors who are starting those conversations early are better positioned when customers are actually ready to buy. So we know holiday gifting, such a great opportunity, but we also know that it can be super challenging. So budgets, sizes, addresses, inventory, making sure things get to where they need to be. It's really a lot to coordinate. It's a lot for you. It's a lot for customers. And that's why we're so excited to talk about Givee today. Givee was designed to make gifting easy. So whether you're creating a program for holiday gifting or a branded e-commerce store, Givee really makes it simple to launch a customized online experience for your customers in just minutes. No cost to create a store, no inventory requirements, no MOQ of just one. It's really easy to support programs of virtually any size. What I love about Givee is the recipient chooses their gift. So that just makes sure that the recipient gets what they want. It's much more meaningful to them. But the whole end result of all of this is it's a much smoother experience for you. It's a better experience for your customers, and it's just more personalized for the recipient. So whether you're new to Givee or it's been a while since you've taken a look at it, today's really an opportunity to see what's changed. There are so many enhancements that have been made based on feedback from our customers. So the platform is even more flexible and easier to use. So today, Aaron's going to walk you through all the details on how Givee works, how easy it is to build a store, and then highlight some of those latest enhancements. So we hope that you walk away today with a solution that you can present to your customers this holiday season. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron.
Stephanie, thank you so much. Making my job very easy. I feel like I don't even need to present anymore. That was perfect.
Not
Um,
true.
well, well, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to talk to you all about Givey and how we can make this holiday season very special. As Stephanie mentioned, it's way earlier than you'd expect to talk about holiday, but as we all know, the holiday selling of programs and stores starts earlier and earlier every year. So very excited to jump into it. A couple housekeeping items before I start. Number one, I've got my senior PM product manager, Brett Colangelo. Many of you already know him. He is in the app in the Q&A section answering any questions that you might have. So please feel free to ask away. And then also something that did come up earlier that I wanted to address. Givey right now is for US entities only. We cannot yet do business with Canadian distributors unless you have a US entity, but that is likely to come next year. We do ship into Canada, and we also ship obviously domestically US, but it is primarily for US distributors today. With that, let's move over to the agenda, please. All right, so we're going to cover really five things and then answer any questions along the way. The first thing is how the holiday gifting season really ends up breaking down. Two, I'll cover how a Givey store works and ultimately how you make money. Three, I'm going to touch on a couple of features that actually matter that come directly from distributor feedback. Four, we'll show what guests actually choose and how merchandising works. And then five is ultimately getting a store live before October, which is when things really start to pick up. All right, first, so the holiday gifting problem, buying in bulk, ultimately costs goodwill for clients and money. So we'll dig into that really quickly. So how many people on this call, you don't have to raise your hand or speak, but how many on this call has had leftover inventory from a bulk order? Pretty much everybody. I'm sure that some of you have heard this, but there's a couple of think tanks that have done studies out there that show between 30 to 40% of any bulk giveaway are wasted. Those items go to waste in whatever fashion, which is a staggeringly high number. And the reason is because you're guessing on inventory, how much to order, what sizes, what colors, what quantities are going to work. People ultimately want choice, but when there is no choice, sometimes the goodwill of giving something just ultimately goes to waste, and it loses the impact of the gift. A lot of the times there's going to be long lead times on things as well. If you have a large order, it's going to take a long time for a supplier or multiple suppliers to decorate and bulk ship those out. And then you have to disperse those and get them to the recipient or the guest at the end of the day, which also takes time. And all that admin ultimately lands on your lap, as all of you know. Sizing collection and wrangling addresses and reorders when they need to come in and when something is defective or not working and if there's any shipping issues, all of that is ultimately on your plate. And the client goodwill and your relationship with the client ultimately is at risk. Ultimately, none of that happens with a Givee store. And I will talk to why. So, one store that you can build, everybody as a guest goes in and finds ultimately what they want. You build the store, you can brand it with your company's logos and the items that they ultimately want. It only takes about 10 or 15 minutes to build. You can always add styling and other features on top of that, which are optional. We review and will approve stores very quickly within 2 to 5 days to make sure that the artwork that is added to the products are not going to have any downstream issues so that when an item is decorated and fulfilled, it is fulfilled correctly and people are happy ultimately with that item. Your client will ultimately share the store with whoever the recipient is, a client, an employee, you name it. Those items or those, excuse me, those guests go directly into the store. They choose what they want. If they've got 50 tumblers sitting in their cabinet, they might not choose a tumbler. Maybe they choose an apparel item or a tech item or something else. Many of the items on Givee are also personalized. So you can put your name or something unique, a nickname or something like that on them, which gives them a unique quality that people typically will not throw away. And then we'll ultimately, whenever an order comes in, we will make it on an MOQ of one basis and ship it directly to that guest. So you don't have to worry about minimums. You don't have to worry about inventory. You don't have to worry about really any of those hidden costs that go with bulk orders. No hidden, what I call hidden fees anyway, setups and runs and drop ship charges and stuff like that. So this is how quickly you can build a store. It is the easiest store builder in the industry. I'm not trying to say that as a brag. I've seen almost all of the builders from the inside, and Givee is the quickest to store approval and the quickest to live. So all you really need to do is create your account at getgivee.com, name it, and give us the basics. How many guests you expect? Do you want a gifting store? Do you want an e-commerce store? Second, upload your designs and the logo files that will go on the products. Choose the products. We have over 830 items available. You can filter those by category, deco method, price, by SKU, by name brand, and multiple other ways, and then add those to the store. Give us your billing details and then submit it for approval. And that's all that you would need to do. Really a four-step process in order to get the store live. There's always a preview to take a look at, and you could share the client's the preview link ahead of time as well, which looks just like the live store. It just hasn't been fully approved yet. And that is a great way to ultimately have a store that looks like it's 100% complete within minutes. All of that you can start at getgivee.com. So the main reasons why people choose Givee, there's a bunch of reasons. These are the five that we hear primarily through feedback that we've received from distributors. So MOQ of one, I'll go through a couple of these, but MOQ of one, there's no store cost. We've got all of our retail brands, all the top names, the best sellers, the trending items that are on PCNA are already on Givee, and we're constantly adding more. We have personalization, as I mentioned, that guests can personalize items. And really, it's as quick and as fast as anything else in the industry. So for the first one here, MOQ of one, everything ships on a quantity of one basis. And that, I mean everything. There are no MOQs on Givee at all. So really, if you wanted to run, let's say, a 12-person store, it's just as easy as running a 5,000-person store. It's just a matter of sending it out to either 12 or 5,000 people. And there is not going to be any waste. There's not going to be any leftover inventory. No one's going to have to add a bunch of boxes into a storage closet or anything like that after the store runs. If there are any issues with anything, the Givee team is here. We have got an amazing customer success team that will work directly with you to rectify any situation if it does come up. There is no store cost. This is a big one, especially in the industry where there are a lot of different store builders. We do not have any store cost. You are going to be charged only on the net price plus the shipping price of the items. So there's no hidden fees like dropship charges or runs or setups, but then there's also no store setup cost. There's no subscription fees. There's no per transaction cost that many other store builders ultimately have. So you are billed based on only the usage, and that is it. And then the last one I did want to touch on, which is the last bullet point here, is just how fast it is. You can get a store live really within minutes to see that preview, days to get it approved, and it does not take weeks for us to build a store and custom create anything, for any use cases. We handle decoration, fulfillment, and shipping on a weekly basis as well, so guests are getting their items fast. They're not waiting 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks to receive something, which in many cases, when they do, they forget that they even ordered it. So we're not at Amazon speed, but we're trying to get there. So we ship things incredibly quickly, so the guest experience is as good as it possibly can be. This is how the money works. So this is probably one of the most important slides on here. One, it does not cost anything to build or to run. You can build as many Givee stores as you ultimately want. You can launch as many as you ultimately want. There's no platform fees, no prepay fees, no inventory risk, really. So there's no inventory to buy up front. There's nothing really to do besides for running a Givee store and then ultimately sharing that with your customers. The way that you make margin is ultimately just the difference between what is ordered on the site, the net price plus the shipping value, and then the store price, or what is agreed upon between you and your client on how much each item will ultimately cost. All of those details, all of that data is available in the Givee app in real time. You can follow orders along real time. You can download a few different reports that you can export and share with your clients and show the difference between what the store price is and the other costs associated. And then we bill you on a weekly invoice, or a weekly basis, which is what we also ship on. Nothing is due until those items ship. So if something does come up with, we're all human and things happen. If something does come up, we won't, and we don't ship that item, we don't charge you for that item. We'll let you know when something does arise, like inventory is out of stock, which is very rare, but it does happen once in a while. There's no deposits, no prepays, no minimum spends on Givee. You can run it for a store of, a small team of five, or run absolutely massive opportunities of thousands. Before you build, there's just a couple of things that you would need, probably 10, 15 minutes or so of prep before you go. And it really is just what you need from your client. So we're going to need the logo files and what the brand colors are from the client. You're likely going to need to know what the head count is before the store launches. We don't necessarily need that information, but it's obviously good to have before any link is sent out to anybody. And then also the budget or the gift value per person. As mentioned, you can add any of the 830 plus products in the assortment today that Givee offers, and there's going to be a wide variety and wide range of price points in there. So it's just a matter of finding the one that works best for your client. You can have open stores or invite-only stores. There's 4 different authentication methods. All of those vary based off of security, whatever the use case is. We've got you as far as the authentication method is, and that's how guests ultimately gain access into the store. You would need to know what product categories you want, and then whatever the launch date and the close date. And then all the styling and the banners and the colors and things of that nature can always be handled at a later date based off of the client needs. Once you have all that information, you can build a Gibby store. The main difference between other store solutions out there and Givee really is the guest experience. And your client is going to likely end up judging the entire thing on how good of a guest experience is going to be because those guests are typically, a lot of times, their clients or their employees, and they're usually pretty vocal. So they're going to give feedback even if it's not asked for. And that's a good thing for Givee because we prioritize the guest experience. The process of logging in and gaining access to a store, finding the item that you want, personalizing that item in many cases, and then receiving that item in a really short amount of time is a great e-commerce-like experience that all of us know so well. And it's very different and in my opinion, much better than just receiving something from their either place of work or from a client or what have you, when you're not necessarily ready to receive that item, especially if it's an item that you've been receiving year after year after year. So the guest experience is in my opinion, incredibly good and much better than some of the other solutions out there. And the reason why we can do that is because we are the supplier of record. We don't work with other suppliers. It is PCNA and PCNA product. So we own the entire experience from A to Z, and that gives us a a benefit over a lot of the other store solutions out there because we know where items are. We have real-time syncs into inventory. We know what items are going to be discontinued. We know when items are being shipped and they're on the floor and they're being decorated. And a lot of other solutions out there simply don't have that visibility because they work with multiple suppliers. We highly, highly, highly value your feedback. We talk to distributors, I would say, anywhere between 100 to 500 times a day. And we have been doing that since Givey really started in 2023. And so I want to show you a couple of features that we have launched very recently that have been asked for very frequently. There's many more things that are coming as well before this holiday season, but I wanted to touch on just a couple of those. The first one, guest tiers and credit management. This ultimately takes multiple stores and it consolidates them into one experience. So you can run multiple stores on one. What I mean by that is you could have, let's say, three different tiers of guest experience. You could have a gold, silver, bronze tier, and each one of those tiers is seeing a different experience than the other one. Maybe it's a different item level limit. Maybe they see different products altogether, but they're all running on the same store. So if I go into a store and Stephanie goes into a store, we're seeing two different experiences, but all of it is going to be consolidated into one store, one experience for you, and a very easy way to manage each one of those guests' experiences. This is absolutely huge. We track everything so you don't have to. This eliminates a lot of back and forth, a lot of spreadsheets, and management of in a store solution. And it ultimately simplifies how many stores it takes to run a really, really cool, really nice holiday experience. The other one that I wanted to touch on really quickly here too is around collections. So this is one that we've heard a lot from distributors as well. We have a product catalog of 830 plus items, and that is continuously growing. When we launched holiday last year, I believe we had about 500, maybe 400 products available. We will likely have over 1,000 by this holiday season. So we're constantly adding the most sought after, trending, popular retail brands, everything that the PCNA is excited about and the product development team is excited about is now on Gibby, which is absolutely huge for us and I think huge for our distributors and your clients as well, especially leading into the holiday season. So why don't we showcase those items better? Right now, it's not that easy to sift through a huge product catalog. So we're offering up first a thing called auto population of stores. You can start with a bunch of items that are curated that we believe are top sellers. And then eventually we're going to have some collections where you can choose, what featured items, some of our top brands. You can filter by price points or filter by, some holiday picks, whatever it is. We're going to be putting it in front of you in a much easier to choose way because we have all that data on our side. We know what sells, we know what is new, what is exciting, and what distributors are getting excited about through the holiday season. So we want to surface that information and that data directly to you to make sure that the product selection is not going to be a barrier as you start to create stores. So you can create more stores and get them live, as quickly as you ultimately want. These are just a couple of the major recent improvements that we're making. There is much, much, much more to come. Brett and his product team is incredibly busy taking feedback, understanding the value, and launching things as quickly as we possibly can in the way that makes the most sense for you, your clients, and the guests. From last year, for those who've followed with the Givee journey, you might be curious to see where we are and where we're going. We are growing incredibly quickly. We are 2x over most of the meaningful health metrics that we have versus last year. So we're growing in a great way. We're resourcing our team in an incredible way as well. And so we're going to be ready for holiday. We are ready now for holiday and excited, as more stores and more opportunities come to us in the near future. A couple key insights of just some data points that we have noticed that I think are interesting for this group. First is apparel is huge. It's up from 32% to 44% this year. That we have added more apparel items. I want to say there's 140 or so SKUs, if not more, that are apparel specific on Givee today. We will continue to add more, and the most popular, the newest and the highest trending items will be added as well. Over 50% of our distributors who launch a Givee store do build another one. We have some who have built over 50 stores. Most of those do run gifting stores, but e-commerce is growing in popularity. The bottom line, though, is, and I'm sure everybody would know this already on this call, it's all about holiday gifting, really. Q4, especially October and November, and then obviously leading a little bit into December, is going to be the lion's share of a lot of the demand. And so that's why people are starting earlier and earlier, and that's one of the main reasons why we're talking to you today about holiday, which is not yet going to happen for a couple of months, but it is real and it's coming. So as I mentioned, the product catalog is growing. We're up to over 830 products. We add more on a weekly basis, more of those popular trending holiday bestsellers. We'll put those into collections as well, so it's easy to find those and add them to future opportunities. Just a few products on here that do sell incredibly well. The Stanley, any Stanley that we have on the site or the app, excuse me, sells incredibly well. Mophie and power banks are very popular right now. Hoodies and more fall into winter apparel is incredibly popular. And then in Q4, everybody loves a blanket. So there's a ton of blankets that we sell. So these are just a couple product suggestions as you start to look at whittling that down and curating a Givee store for yourself. Use cases around the holiday season are vast. There are more use cases and there's more reasons to build holiday stores that I can shake a stick at. So I wanted to really whittle that down to the five most popular. The most popular use case out there, really, though, is employee holiday. It is companies at the end of the year, they want to say thank you to their employee base. It's the end of the year, and most of those programs start to expire. So they're going to want to put most of their employees as guests into some sort of experience to say thank you. That is the vast majority of the Givee stores that we run during the holidays, but it's not the only one. Client appreciation is huge. A lot of premium brands being sent over to clients. We've got even more premium brands on the Givee front this year than we've ever had before to fit that need. There's a lot of year-end recognition. This is really popular with sales and marketing. You know, we want to say thank you to the top performers in every region, or something of that nature. There's a lot of holiday pop-up shops, especially around e-commerce. There's, stores that want to make a little bit of money, but also want to put in guests into an experience where maybe they get a store credit. They could say, hey, you get $50 off. But if you go over that $50, put it on your corporate card or put it on a personal card if you want more items. So that one is a very popular one too. But I wanted to leave everybody with this last one because this is the number one way that we have seen since Givee started in 2023 and then launched officially in 2024. This is the number one way that where most distributors get started, and that is through your own self promo store. So that is set up a Givee store. You can use your own logo and then share that with your clients directly and put them in as guests. So they can go and buy something or gift themselves something with your logo on it as a thank you, for being a client. That's a great way of putting your brand in front of them, and then also they can understand the Givee solution from a guest experience. All right, so as I mentioned, holiday is here and it is coming. The holiday window is open now. I think last year it was probably late August, maybe even September. This year is in August. Who knows? Next year is probably going to be February, but it's coming quicker and quicker. We already have holiday stores that have been built for months now in Givee, and people are just waiting for those to start. So if we worked back, let's just say we had a December opportunity. Excuse me. Let's say we had a December opportunity. I wanted to compare the traditional bulk route of gifting versus where Givee is, and just to show and wedge a difference between the two. So if we want a traditional bulk route, you'd have to start with collecting all the details. You would have to know what the size is, the head count, what are the shipping addresses for everybody, what is the product mix, and all of this you would likely have to manage through a spreadsheet. The client would then either prepay or you would do some sort of PO process with your client upfront for a bunch of items that you don't know if they're going to be used or not. Then you would send in an order for production and decoration. You got to wait likely weeks of lead time. So if one date is missed from either one supplier or multiple suppliers, it could, ultimately change the entire experience. Then all the boxes will land at you or the client. Someone has to receive it. They've got to count it and they've got to store all of those items at once. Most distributors, not all though, would receive it, and then they have to figure out the sorting and the redistribution of those items. So you've got to kit and maybe repack and send all of those items over to the guests in some way, shape, or form. Not a fantastic user experience, especially when the guest is looking to receive something that either maybe they can't receive, or maybe the color or the size or what have you is no longer available because they got to it late. Either way, it's not a great experience for you, not a great experience for the client, and ultimately, in my opinion, most importantly, not a great experience for the guest, which is the person that everybody is trying to surprise and delight. With Givee, that is completely turned on its head. You pitch and build the store. Again, it takes about 10, 15, 20 minutes to build a first store and share that preview. So it doesn't cost anything at all to stand it up. So you don't have to worry about budgeting at all to start. Your client will then just give you the logos, the budgets, who needs access. You get the store up and running, and then we approve it and it goes live. It takes about 2 to 5 days for that to be approved. Our art team will just make sure that the logos that you've uploaded work with the products so there's no downstream issues. And then the store is live, and that's it. Clients will then go in, the guests will go in, they'll order the thing that they want. They'll put likely their residence or maybe their office, whatever shipping location works best for them. They'll receive that item within a week, and then that's it. And then hopefully they sing the praises directly to the client and say how easy of a solution it was. We ship on a weekly basis. It's going to go direct to whatever is best for the recipient in most cases. There's no inventory, there's no sorting, there's no waste. And most importantly, maybe there's no spreadsheets or multiple spreadsheets. I do recognize some of the names on the participant list here. So I know that there's a couple people who have tried Givee before. If you have tried it, especially if you tried it last year, Give it a shot again. A lot of changes have been made from last year. We want to be as transparent as possible. Holiday season with its high demand and incredibly fast turnarounds and volume is a tricky time of the year. And so we want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can and we are as prepared as we possibly can be to make sure that you, your client, your guests have the best experience as you possibly can. So a lot of changes have taken place from last year till today. The first to call out, we are faster to go live. So our approvals are averaging about 2 to 5 days, not 6 to 10. We have resourced the team around that in a huge way. The store setup is faster. The self-serve tool is quicker. There's many more changes that are coming before the bulk of holiday, before really like late September, early October, that we will be making to make sure that the store setup process is smooth, easy, quick, and faster and better than ever. You doesn't take very many support calls, if any, to launch. You can launch everything self-serve, but we're always here. We're always available to answer any questions. You can start with a stock store. You don't have to start with an empty state store and choose products yourself. As I mentioned with the collections and the pre-population of stores, we will put, top selling items directly in front of you, so you don't have to start with that empty state. And this year it's going to be much less of a black box. You will see order statuses directly in the order queue. You can cancel orders before they go to production if something looks off. Our invoicing process has changed for the better. And we, as I mentioned, are always available. Our customer success team is amazing. They're second to none. They are not AI chatbots. They are real human beings. They're available in app, on email, and then also on getgivee.com. You can book a session directly with us. We're happy to do a screen share and talk through your use case and any issues or concerns you might have. A couple of the questions that we get most, you can always ask us anything outside of this, as I mentioned, through any of those means. Questions about the tool. You can ask us about products. If you want to add something off of pcna.com that's not on Givee, we can do end user presentations if you're not sure what the value proposition is to make your life easier. We're ultimately here to make things run as smoothly as possible and get you answers as quickly as possible to arm you with owning the client relationship that you have. Five very common use questions that we do receive to cover those very quickly. What does it cost? Talked about this a little bit. It is only the usage on the store, just the net price plus the shipping on each one of those items. If something doesn't ship, we don't charge you for it. There is no minimum on anything. It's MOQ of 1. There's no overbuying. There's no waste. There's no taking a bunch of boxes and tossing it into a storage closet. Nothing of that nature. You can launch stores in as little as 10 to 15 minutes if you wanted to use the preview. We will approve very, very quickly. You can ultimately get a store from nothing to live within days and not weeks. And when we also ship, things within, days, not multiple weeks. You can contact us at any point via the in-app chat. That is going to be real time. We'll answer that within just a couple of minutes. You can reach out to us at help@getgivee.com, or you can book a demo or a screen share call directly with us on getgivee.com. Another one is how do gifts ship? We've got a couple of different facilities that we ship, but everything goes out on demand. It goes out on a weekly basis. We go likely direct to recipients. It's really up to the recipient or the guest to choose where they want things to go, although we do bulk shipping as well on a little bit of a different basis. We ship into US and Canada, and it's all going to be on a flat rate. Right now, that flat rate, and for the rest of the year, it will be $9.95 shipping, and that is per order. So if you've got 1 item, 2 items, 3 items, it'll be the same flat rate going to US and Canadian destinations. So you can build your own store this week. By the time, if I started this presentation right now in 10 to 15 minutes, you could have had a store if you really wanted to. On getgivee.com, you can sign up today. Any of those blue buttons that will say create a free store will take you into the store builder, and you can create an account in a store right off the bat. Everything is relatively self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask along the way. There's no fees, there's no commitment. You can create as many stores and as many previews as you ultimately want. All you need to do to build a store is add your logo, pick the products that you want, add your billing details, and submit that for approval. And as I mentioned before, one of the greatest ways to do that is to use your own logos. Build a self-promo store, use it as a live demo, send it off to your clients, say thank you. Maybe it's a holiday gift or something of that nature to get them used to that guest experience. And that is the presentation in a nutshell. We believe that Givee is the best way to do holiday. We've got rave reviews from guests and companies alike that have run Givee stores during the holiday seasons. It's just an easier, faster, better user experience, as well as the guest experience to receive those items, the items that they ultimately want, directly to them as a way of saying thank you. Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to surprise and delight guests. We're trying to say thank you. We're trying to show appreciation. So making their lives difficult or showing a bunch of items that they ultimately can't have or sizes or colors they can't have doesn't necessarily lead to a great user experience. But with a Givey store, you can flip that on its head and provide a fantastic e-commerce-like shopping experience directly to those guests. So now we will open it up for any questions that have not yet been answered in the chat. Stephanie, is there a great way of handling each one of these, or should we just go from the top to the bottom?
I think just top to the bottom. I know Brett has been active on the chat, so we appreciate all your questions during the webinar. He is answering a lot of questions. It looks like we do still have some open. Aaron, if you want to take some of those.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start to dig in here as Brett has answered. It looks like the majority of them. So thank you very much, Brett. What other retail brands do you have aside from Stanley? There are tons of retail brands that we ultimately have. You can go to getgibby.com, and in the menu at the top, you can hit products, and there's going to be the catalog there. I'm not the physical products person, but the name brands that I know, I'll throw in front of you. Stanley, there's Mophie, Burn, FootJoy, Hydro Flask, Arctic Zone. There's a lot of name brands, even aside from hard goods that are available, and many, many more. Our product development team has been absolutely fantastic at adding some really interesting brands and trending brands in the retail industry, ultimately to PCNA and therefore also Givey. What is the price range for one-off items important for clients that may have a lot of employees but lower budget per each price? Great question from Karen. So Givey prices are going to be slightly different than what you're going to see on PCNA.com. We did start with EQP, but we did have to add a couple of bucks in a formula to do one of two things. One, we do need to cover that MOQ of one, because that's obviously not a threshold that exists in the bulk ordering world. And then two, we're also shipping to individuals and recipients, likely at residences, which does cost a little bit more. So we're eating a little bit of that margin, but we want to make sure that some of that is going to be attributed in each one of those products. So Givey pricing is a little custom. You can compare that at EQP. It's going to be slightly more expensive, but it's not going to be as high as First Quotient. If a client uses a store as a fundraiser, how do we set that up? How much will or should the client get of the sale? This comes from Kimmy. So good question here too. You can run multiple different use cases and kind of slice and dice it however you would like. Our relationship ultimately is with you at the end of the day. Not very many distributors give access to the Givey app to the clients to see firsthand. So how you want to set that up is up to you. The way that we present everything is as transparent as we see it. So you will be able to see the store price. You'll be able to see the net price, the shipping value, everything taken together. We don't provide you POs for anything. So if you're running something as a fundraiser, likely guests are going to be receiving those items without prices. So what that means is you're going to be running a gifting store, which is the vast majority of Givey stores. That means that you go to a Givee store, you do not see prices on product. When you check out, you ultimately are checking out with an item level limit, which means you can only have one, two, three items, whatever that limit is, in your cart. And then you check out. So the guest never sees prices at all. You will see the prices on the other side. So then you would just, rectify the payment that you're ultimately owed with your client based on the margin that you've discussed. Got another one here from Joe. He said, you didn't mention team uniforms as a use case. Is Givey appropriate for a customer that wants an easy way for new employees to order branded polos, hats, etc.? It looks like Brett was about to answer this one. At least that's the notification Zoom gave me. So I'll jump ahead here. It is definitely a use case that we handle. You can get anybody into any store with prices or not with prices and ultimately order those items. If you do more logos, it will likely, if you're going to be putting those logos on the same products, so if let's say you've got one logo that you want to go on multiple products, or excuse me, two logos to go on multiple products, you likely will need two stores. The way that Givey works is that you would take one logo file and you would use that on one variant. So let's say there's a mug with that are black, white, and navy, and maybe on white you want the full color logo, and then black and navy you want the white logo. Those changes you would make, that configuration you would make in the Givey app, and then if you wanted a different logo for those same products, you can always create a separate store. But there's some changes coming likely next year that will make that a little bit easier. So it would be one store and one opportunity.
Aaron, one question that I've seen come up in the chat a few times that you can speak, might want to speak to is there a recommended number of products for a Givey store?
Yeah, that's a big one, and it comes up very frequently. There really isn't a recommended number, but it really does depend on the number of guests and the experience that you want to provide. Because everything is an MOQ of one, you can put as many items as you want to, but we have to remember what the guest experience is actually like. We've all been on stores where even maybe it's a gifting store, maybe it's a store to say thank you at the end of the year, and there's hundreds of products. You really quickly get into that analysis paralysis type of mode, and you don't know what to choose. So that isn't necessarily a great user experience. So you want to keep the assortment as low as you can to make sure that guests can sift through and make their selection quickly. The other thing is we have to worry about how many guests are going to the same items. Inventory is a thing. And so even though we do sync inventory real time, if a variant goes out of stock, the Givey tool will show that it's out of stock. So if let's say, the color red and extra small on a vest is out of stock, that one variant will not be purchasable or orderable. It will give the guest the opportunity to choose something else, maybe a different color or a different size, but that one item will not be available. It's a bad user experience if you choose too few of products for very large stores and those items start to go out of stock. So that's where you probably want to bolster the assortment, into the 40s or 50s or more, depending on the opportunity. Rob asked, can we set up collection tiers that do not show the price to the customer on the site? And the answer is absolutely. So the guest tier management feature that I was mentioning, where you can have the gold, silver, bronze, or whatever tier, you can set that up at the gifting level. So that means that guests, when they go into the site, no matter what their tier, they don't see what the price ultimately is. Now, the cool thing about that is the gold tier, let's say, can see all of the items that you have. Maybe the silver can only see 50%, and maybe bronze can only see a couple of the items that you choose. So you can, mix the different the product assortment or the price ranges, or the item limits that each one of those tiers is able to see, which changes their entire experience. Richard asked if we had marketing materials for Givee so we can use for promoting this option. Great question. Yes, we will have more for holiday. You can go to getgivee.com today to see a lot of the materials that we have. We have flyers, we have use case flyers, notifications about how to sell holiday and how to sell e-commerce and stuff like that. But for holiday 2026, there's going to be much more to come, including an update on the product assortment, the best ways to sell Givey for the holidays, and some of our most popular use cases. Sherry asked, approximately how many guests will you invite to your store? Is the question when we set up, and can that be changed? Absolutely. You can change it at any point that you want. You can add guests either by bulk upload. So you just give us a spreadsheet that basically just has the first name, last name, and the email associated with it. You can upload that directly into Givey, which will allow those people access. You can also add individual guests. You can just type in individual first name, last names, and emails as you go. You can always revoke access or add more access as you go. That is not something that is ever stagnant if you don't want it to be. The only thing that we need that will essentially be set before a store goes live is the artwork and the individual products that you start with. You can always add more products, you can always add more art, but those individual items, if you do add more after the store has been approved, our team is still going to have to take a look at those. We just want to make sure, again, that there's no strange issue that happens downstream once we start to try to deco and fulfill. Cindy said, should we default to the 10-day lead time for the stores? Will you be communicating if the lead time has increased as we approach the holiday season? Absolutely. We'll definitely let you know if the lead time has increased or not. Lead times, there's a few different ones though. There's the store setup, which does not take very long at all. You can set up a store, as I mentioned, in 10 to 15 minutes, or as long as you want based on all the configuration that is available. There's that lead time, which is really up to you and how long you want to take to actually build the store and what items your client ultimately wants. And then there's the lead time of the items that we send off. There's a couple of different fulfillment options that we do have available. The most popular is going to be individual fulfillment on a weekly basis. So the lead time there is as quick as the order comes in. That is likely going to be sent over to our fulfillment houses to decorate and fulfill as quickly as possible. That's one route. You can wait till the end of the store if you want us to hold everything. You just need to let our customer success team know, and we'll hold all of the orders until you tell us not to, and then we'll release them all at once. And we can also do bulk shipping, which will ultimately take as many items as we possibly can, put them in as few boxes as possible. But that one has a couple of caveats with it. In order to do that, we do it at the item level. So all the Stanley tumblers will go together, all the Wolverine hats will go together. We don't mix and match different types yet, but we're working with operations on that. Shannon asked when the last day before Christmas you have to place an order to make sure that it gets there before Christmas. Shannon, we don't have the answer on that one yet. Last year, I believe it was December 9th. So it will likely end up being early December this year as well. I just don't have the exact date quite yet. Once we do have that, we will make sure to communicate that in the Givey tool itself. Joe asked, do we need separate login credentials for gigivey.com or will our PCNA login work? Great question, Joe. The two websites, although they're both PCNA products, ultimately run separately. So you would need separate credentials for givey.com and PCNA. It can be the same email if you want. It could even, I mean, likely be the same password. I'm not the security guy, so don't take my word for that. But you could likely use the exact same. The two systems don't talk to each other directly, so you will need to create a new account for GetGivey, even if you have one on PCNA. Stephanie, how are we doing on time?
think we've captured the majority of the questions. And I'm also looking that thank you so much for all of your engagement during this call. There have been some really great questions. I'm thinking as an action item for us, this is a great foundation for some FAQs. There have been some really great questions that we can compile and share back out. So thank you for your focus, your attention, and your great questions.
Absolutely. And I do apologize that I'm not able to answer all of these in real time, even though Brett's typing away. I'm sure his fingers are burning. He's answered quite a few out there. If you do have any questions that are outstanding, we'll take a note of all of those and we'll get back to you on those too as well. And also stay tuned for a follow-up as Stephanie mentioned after this webinar as well, with the recording and some follow-ups and individual calls to action.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.